Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Hit or Miss Doctor Who for another episode of our Cyberman season. You catch us as we are grabbing onto a time ring and floating through a patch of terrible CSO to head to Nerva Beacon for Season 12's Revenge of the Cybermen. I am your usual host, Michael Wilson, a pathetic tin-headed podcaster skulking about the galaxy. And, keeping a watchful eye out for Cybermats is my trusty sidekick and co-host, DK.
Hello.
Hey. Welcome. And are you looking forward to this one?
Anyway, on to the next guest.
And politely informing me that in 1974 you couldn't move around here for Cybermen, it's returning guest Cliff Chapman.
Hello, this is Cliff Chapman to Nerva Beacon. This is Cliff Chapman to Nerva Beacon. Can you hear me, Nerva Beacon?
I say he appears to erase the logs. Anyway. If only. Yeah, so I get the feeling you're potentially going to be the one person going to bat for this story. So you psyched up and ready to be the defender of this week?
I believe the word is apologist, so I apologise in advance.
Fair enough. Start from a good position. I think I'm not saying it's good. I'm just apologising for it.
Yes.
And joining us again, he's escaped from Pete's world and gone straight from the Cybermen's rise to their revenge. Welcome back, Joshua. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you. And after watching this episode again, I would like to escape back to Pete's world.
Well, you can't. It is locked off forever until 2 seasons later, when it won't be again for reasons. So anyway. We'll get to the Nerva Voga showdown soon, but first we do have some other regular sections to attend to, as regular listeners will know, beginning with our usual takeoff into the vortex. So I do like to do a little bit of a preamble just to get us warmed up on these episodes, but we've talked about most of the things that we tend to begin with, which is, how do you get into Doctor Who? What were your favorite Cybermen stories? Anybody who's listening, you can catch the previous episodes that we've all been on to learn about those things. So I had to come up with something else, and what I've been doing is kind of going around, and because this is particular, it's a particular Doctor's story, as I've been doing with some of the other ones, I thought I'd go around and ask our favorite Tom Baker stories. And as an extra little bit of, flavor to this, I should point out that this storyline, this serial, is actually part of my favorite classic Doctor Who season. Not because of this particular serial, but it is there. It's part of it. There can be no denying it. So I was also curious if I could go around, and as well as giving your favorite Tom Baker stories, do you have a favorite classic season of the show? Is it maybe the same as me, season 12, or is it another one? So Cliff, I don't know why, but I'm going to start with you first with this one. So.
Alphabetical order, perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah. I, as a Libran, I don't believe in star signs, but also I'm a typical Libran, so I'm not very good at picking one thing quickly. I do think season 14 is up there for me in like all-time favorite seasons, and I think 14 would pip 12, although I think 13, 14, 12, and 18. And 17, to be honest. There's a lot of good stuff in Tom. He's popular for a reason. But yeah, I think across season 12 and season 14, there were a lot of the early VHSs. Revenge of the Cybermen was a very early VHS. I remember renting it from the video shop in Ramsey, the second of the two. Must have been 1990. And I was very, very fond of that. That whole era, it was quite Philip Hinchcliffe heavy, the early videos. So that they were quite formative. I think season 14 probably. Favorite Toms, City of Death is up there. I went to Paris for my 40th, and I adore it. I love Full Circle, Warrior's Gate, and Logopolis, and Leisure Hive. I think there's some smashing stuff in season 18. So get on well with Cy Hart. He likes to talk about them as well. I did Cy's podcast last year. And I love Brain of Morbius, even despite the whole faces of Morbius that have created controversy. They are Morbius. But Yeah, a good mix of horror and comedy.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't give my favorite Tom Baker stories, but I would probably also go with City of Death, Ark in Space for my second place, and then third is just so variable. Brain of Mobius is a good contender though, so I'll go with that one because you mentioned it. So why not?
Nice.
And yeah, my very close second place favorite season, if anybody was curious, is season 10. So it's not all just Tom Baker love.
I love season 10 as well.
Yeah, very good. Well, there's a slight couple of weak links in there, but yeah. Anyway, so Joshua, big questions and favorite Tom Baker stories, and do you have a favorite classic season? I'm not sure how versed you are with the classics. I should really ask that first. But, yeah.
I'm actually fairly versed in most of them because, like I said, the last time I was on, I started collecting the classic seasons when they started coming out on Blu-ray here.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite Tom Baker season because I found when I went back and actually started watching classic Who that I had always like one of my friends, Tom Baker was her favorite doctor. I was like, no, I would never like Tom Baker. Tom Baker is actually up there with. He is my second favorite classic doctor, behind Peter Davidson, actually.
Okay.
But I absolutely love Tom Baker's first and last season. I think they're great. And again, can't pick just one, but just like my favorite episodes are like Cliff, I love Leisure Hive is amazing, and Legopolis.
Cool.
I love both of those. So
yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I'm not as fond of season 18 myself as a lot of people are, but I can understand, especially Legopolis is huge. But yeah, it occurs to me that asking you a favorite sort of numbered season is weird because for some reason the American Blu-ray sets are just labeled really bizarrely. They're not given proper numbers. It's all Tom Baker's first season and Tom Baker's season 2.
It is so weird that they chose to do it like that.
Yeah,
it's like why.
I think they went, it would probably confuse the market. They go, well, I'm not buying season 12 until I can buy season 1. So
I see, yeah.
It's like you have to do it doctor by doctor because you couldn't do it because of all the missing episodes for the other ones, I guess.
I mean, yeah, we are Americans, so sometimes we need to be spoon-fed things.
I can kind of see it, but I mean, we've still, even in the UK, we've ended up in a bizarre situation now where we've got 3 different season 1s and season 2s because of stupid Russell T Davies too. So.
I think it's stupid that they technically ended the run of New Who and then started again with the Disney Plus. It's like, why?
Mini rant in the Into the Vortex section. So yeah, that's fair enough. That's some good calls. I mean, fairly popular Tom Baker choices, and first and last seasons, 12 and 18, I think again would be popular. So yeah, fair call. DK, over to you next for this question. Then.
Favorites, my favorite Toms. I'm gonna have to go with. I have 3. 2 of them have already been mentioned, which is Legopolis and City of Death, classics. I also it's not very well looked upon these days, but I still have a great affection for Talons.
Oh yeah, Talons of Wing Chiang is a really good story. I mean, apart from the problematic elements, it is still a brilliant story. Damn, that's another good contender for my 3rd spot, actually. Oh well.
With regards to favorite seasons, I'm going to go with 26, simply because it brought me back into the fold after years of kind of thinking the show had just.
That is deeply ironic. Literally, the last classic. I came back into the show just as it died.
Yeah. No, I was there. With Davison, and then the Baker era just really kind of put me off. And then we had Rani stories, so
there's something really kind of like defeatistly brilliantly British and black about the fact that you were like, right then, I'm back on board, here we never mind.
Yeah, that's me. I am the kiss of death.
Oh, well,
yeah, the Baker era, when I got to that in classic Doctor Who, I was like, wow, the Doctor became a dick.
Yeah.
Well, it does happen every now and then. Usually every 6 regenerations, because Peter Capaldi spent a good year being quite similar.
But the thing is, I liked Peter Capaldi being a dick.
Yeah. Have you actually watched Timeless yet, Mike?
No, of course I haven't. Don't be silly.
Yeah, you'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, the other week I was pitching a Blake Seven podcast to Mike because he said he'd never seen Blake Seven. So I said, we have to watch Blake Seven. And we could start with Time Lash as a sort of taster to ease you into
God.
it.
You are actually wanting Mike to watch Blake Seven, yeah?
Yeah, you'd love it. Genuinely.
I think I would. I really do think I would, yeah.
It would be a kindness.
Fair enough. Oh, that's pretty good. I think we're all suitably warmed up now, and we've all given some pretty good answers. There's nothing too controversial there. So, this is going to be where we transition into the next stage of the podcast, the section that gives the podcast its name, the hit or miss section.
How I hate these hit or miss performances.
Yay. Did we all remember this? Are we all prepped for this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay. So, again, if you are happening to be new here and stumbling across us for the first time, the hit or miss section is basically just where we pick things from anywhere in the universe, anything. It could be totally random. And I ask if they're a hit or a miss. We debate it back and forth, try and come up with a consensus. And, take it from there. And a couple of things. There will be Cybermen things mixed in there because that is the theme of the season that we're doing this year. So there will be some, but not everything, because I like to mix it up a little bit. And because I've been doing it this way lately, we're doing it kind of a weird lottery style. So instead of me just picking a set number of things, I've got a list of 14 items, and I'm going to go around and ask us to pick a number from 1 to 14 so that it can be completely random, and I don't know what's coming up or when or how. So, let's go with Josh. I'm gonna ask you to pick a number first because you've been away for longer than Cliff. So I don't know why. Other than that, so yeah, between 1 and 14, what would you like to go with for this?
Well, since we're on Tom Baker this week, I'm going to pick 4.
4, okay. 4 is Cybermen related, actually. It's an episode from New Who. Apologies if the image is a little bit small, but I'm sure you'll know it anyway. So hit or miss for the episode Closing Time. And Josh, it was your pick, so here we go.
I actually really enjoyed Closing Time. I did.
Okay.
I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember it was one of the first episodes that I saw actually live, like when it first aired. So I think it was a hit. I liked it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, speaking of problematic, obviously very problematic writer, we're not addressing that situation
no.
or condoning his nonsense. But I mean, addressing just the story itself, it was a return for James Corden, always popular.
Yes, James Corden was. I remember when I saw James Corden started hosting a late night show here in the U.S. I was like, oh, I know him from Doctor Who.
I wish that's all I'd known him from. But never mind. So,
we don't know him much for anything else here.
Yeah, think yourselves lucky. But yeah, no, I mean he's good in the Doctor Who episodes, I guess. I mean, fine, I should say, not really great, but not terrible either. So, and what did you make of the Cyberman's return? It was kind of an unusual, randomly placed Cyberman story, Closing Time.
It really was.
Yeah,
just randomly in a shop.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah, and it's the Cybers designs, but they're not the Cybermen.
Yeah.
Weird.
And the fact that if I remember correctly, they still had the Cyber symbol on their chest. Like
they didn't actually. They went through all the trouble. They slightly changed them by just taking the Cyber symbol off and making the central bit on the chest just a circle. But,
okay, because for some reason I remember it being on there.
Yeah,
like you could have redesigned them, and you didn't. You just decided
somebody
to go
was just
with,
like, that'll do.
But I will say at least they didn't have the Hoover hoses on the head.
Fair enough. Oh, we'll get to that. Don't you worry. And, just last question then. What did you make of the return of the cyber mats in this episode in its lovely toyetic form?
So when I first saw this episode, I had no fucking idea what a cyber mat was.
Fair enough.
So, and then when I got into classic, I was like, oh, that makes a little more sense. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, the original classic Who Cybermats are a lot scarier than the
Really?
ones that I've seen in New Who. Yeah.
I mean,
just
okay.
just because of the terrible special effects.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah. So overall, then, hit or miss for closing time? What are we saying?
I'll say hit.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Cliff, I have a feeling we discussed this just inadvertently last time we were on an episode, but yeah, if you'd like to remind us of your thoughts.
We did. We went through. I remember we talked about the Cybermats and the sort of versus Tomb of the Cybermen and Revenge, and then the Nano Cybermen. Yeah, closing time is it is an odd one. It's a very unusual treatment. I think what it does quite well is it remembers that probably the Cybermen work best in the shadows, not saying very much. So that's a point in its favour. And I like the Doctor's coat. And James Corden does massively irritate me and annoy me in a lot of things, but he is fine in this, and he's fine in Cruise of the Gods. My friend Carrie was an extra in Cruise of the Gods way back when, and whenever I slag off James Corden online, she says he was lovely, and I went through his lines with him, and he was very nice to me on Cruise of the Gods. So he obviously only became a knob later,
as they tend to do.
Yeah. But yeah, closing time is a bit of a nothing really, and it has its moments, but it's it's a shame we didn't get more skulky Cybermen goodness in something that was a bit more about them. But it's about Craig and the baby, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and defeating the Cybermen with the power of love, as I think I said last time, which is it's always a risky proposition when you try and get away with that one. But yeah.
Emotions are a weakness sometimes, actually.
Was it you, Cliff, that looked up to see if you could get a toy version of the Cyberman and learned it was only a bump and go, and it was like pull back and go? You couldn't get a remote control.
That's right. Yes. I'm talking like this was years ago. It was only last week. Yeah. Basically, I would have been all over a fully remote control version. But yeah, it was just bump and go. And I was just out of drama school at the time. I had no money at all, so I wasn't buying toys then. I was barely buying the DVDs.
Fair enough. So anyway, overall hit or miss then for closing time from you?
I'd probably say a miss. It's not the worst miss in the world, but it's a bit of a miss.
Okay, I mean that's fair. Even slightly under middle is still a miss, and yeah, fair enough. Soft miss, we say. So yeah, DK, over to you.
I hate this one. I just hate this. Fucking James Corden, get in the bin. And what I hate most about it is weirdly not really that much to do with the episode, although the episode itself is utter gash. But it's the Doctor Who Unleashed afterwards, where they thought, let's look at the history of Doctor Who, and then completely ignored Linda Barron just for James Corden acting like a cock on camera.
And Linda Barron's been in Doctor Who twice and sang in the damn show.
Yeah. So, and I was just like, when they're going to get to Linda Barron? Oh, no, they're not. But here's some more of James Corden acting like a prick. So, no, I just hate it. I hate the resolution because, emotions, but I don't buy emotions from James Corden. So, it's not for me. It's a mess.
Fair enough. Yeah, they should really put some respect on the name of Nurse Gladys Emmanuel.
Exactly.
That's a reference that only a very small amount of our older English viewers will get. But hello to all of you that are probably experiencing back pain as you listen.
And what makes it worse? Is that, it was set in a shop. Service workers. James Corden? No.
So what you're saying is there was blood upon the sawdust in DK's front room.
Yeah, see, Cliff had more talent than James Corden. In that
I'd happily have rather seen Cliff in Cats or Into the Woods than James Corden. I'll tell you that much. But never mind. But yeah, I don't know what to think of this one, because technically speaking, I would probably say soft hit, but you've got to really divorce it from the writer and one of the actors involved and stuff. but I still didn't hate it. There was, as you said, Cliff, there was some Cybermen in the Shadows stuff. I like the Cybermen anyway. I thought the Cybermat was a fun inclusion for the first time since the classic series. So I would have said soft hit, but unfortunately that leaves us in a weird limbo because it means we've got, a hit, a soft miss, and a complete miss. So we are basically.
Well, no. If I knew that we could do soft hits, it would have been a soft hit for me.
That still doesn't really help. It just basically means we end up with 2 hits and 2 misses, one way or another.
I should have on the side of caution and just burn
it. I mean, it doesn't speak great volumes that it's divided us down lines that are just like, we still can't really say a hit. Okay, we can't admittedly fully say a miss either, but, if I have to be the deciding voice, I'm certainly not going to bat for it. Call it a miss. So we'll go back to you then. We'll go to our next guest. And Cliff, it's your turn. If you wouldn't mind picking a number between 1 and 14, let's make a good one.
7, please.
7 is a really random one. I don't know why I ended up with this on the list, but again, some of these things just come to me and I'm like, oh yeah, that'll do. 7 is a very random character. Hit or miss for the character of the Ghost from The Return of Dr. Mysterio. Cliff, can you find much to say about this one?
I quite like him. I think he's fine. I think it was interesting that it was when Marvel was in its full pomp. Stephen Moffat went, I'm going to make a superhero Doctor Who episode, but he didn't make it really anything like Marvel. It's much more like a sort of classic Superman film.
I think that is on purpose. He did say it was more of an homage to the Chris Reeve Superman, which, taste. So.
Yeah. So I think I was sort of all geared up for something much more Marvel-y at the time. Okay. But I suppose with budgetary concerns, that was be silly. Yeah, I quite like it. I think it's quite charming. I think it's something that Doctor Who's never really done before or since, so it's quite unique in a way.
Are you forgetting the carcass?
The carcass came to mind as I was saying that, and I was like, no, that's fine. Christopher Robbie was also the carcass, wasn't he, as well as the cyber leader? No, I quite like the Ghost. I know it's not a particularly popular episode, and I think it's a shame that it sets up a whole load of things that just then get completely ignored. So, maybe we should have had a whole season about Harmony Shale. They're set up to be like a big bad of a season, and then it's like, that's it. But
infiltrated unit and went nowhere anyway. So
yeah, maybe it'll be back in the Christmas special. Billy Piper and Harmony Shale.
It's so weird because then
Shale.
I mean, it's Shoal. It is, yeah.
Shoal,
it's weird though because there's a whole plot in flux with Chibnall is about like, oh, this character you've never seen before invaded unit, and you have a ready-made thing just there that Moffat left hanging for you. Just why create some new? Anyway, that's another discussion for another day, I guess. But, Anyway, so you're kind of a fan of the Ghost, then I would say. So words in your mouth. So
he's a hit. He's a hit.
Okay, fair enough. DK, I'm going to switch it up and ask you next about this guy.
I don't mind it. It was a Christmas episode. Had it been a regular one, maybe I wouldn't have been as charitable. But it's all right. So I'm gonna say a soft hit. It's
you don't really have a lot to say about it. It seems.
That's
fine. Yeah. Okie dokie. We'll move on then to you, Josh. And I'm assuming you've seen Return of Dr. Mysterio. And
I have, yeah. I didn't mind Ghost, and just the premise of the entire episode I found interesting, especially after the serious tone of the previous episode, which was a whole year before, The Husbands of Riversong.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a fun way to jump back in after a year. I do agree with Cliff that I was expecting Harmony Shoal to be the big bad of the season.
Yeah.
And because for me, like, I don't know why Harmony Shoal just, the whole thought of them being able to pull off part of their head just creeps me out.
Yeah. It's a great visual. It is, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it is a great visual. I just want to know, like once the brain is in there, how do they fit the gun? Where does the gun go?
You don't want to know.
And then like I've always liked Justin Chatwin as an actor anyway.
Oh, wow, okay. You and I are going to be in disagreement on that one. Have you seen the Dragon Ball movies?
No, I have not. And I don't want to.
I was going to say, thank to your lucky stars, don't ever watch that.
No, it was one of his earlier movies. It was one of his earlier movies, The Invisible, that I really enjoyed him in. That and the first season of the American version of Shameless.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that, to be fair. Okay.
Yeah. But all in all, I think that it's a soft hit for me. I think it was a good hop back in to Capaldi's final season.
Cool. I'm kind of glad that we have a consensus because I'm very in two minds about this. So I'm kind of pleased it doesn't matter because we've come out on the side of hit anyway. Because I'm almost right down the middle with this. I like the idea of using a superhero. I love the fact that it's an homage to the Chris Reeve Superman, the superior superhero. Hate the costume, the idea that it's trying to be Superman and Batman, and it just looks ridiculous. Don't really like the casting of Justin Chatwin. But I love the moment in the episode, and I've said this a million times, but it's such a small moment, but I do love the moment where Lucy says, put on your superhero costume, and you're expecting one thing, and she puts his glasses back on him, because the hero is the actual man in the end of the day. And I'm like, oh, it's cheesy as all get out, but it really did win me over a lot on this, on that episode and on this character. But yeah, I would have went, I'm not sure if I would have went probably slight miss, but given that it doesn't matter, I'm going hit anyway. Let's call it goes to hit. Why not? So, I think it's your turn, isn't it, DK, to pick a number, please, between 1 and 40?
I'll go 13.
Very random. But, okay, unlucky for some. Let's see if it is here. It is an episode of Classic Who, which is not Cybermen related. Again, I don't know why I picked these, so don't ask. But hit or miss for the War Machines. And again, DK, it was your pick. So,
I love this one. I love this one. I know it's not an incredibly popular one, but I remember when it came out, I loved the fact that I got to see this for the first time. And I mean, yeah, poor old Dodo. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Other than that, it was nice to see Ben and Polly, and it was nice to see them, doing some, I guess, proto Troughton type story. And I just love that closing shot of one of the episodes where it's doing it from the War Machine's point of view, and it's going up to Hartnell. I love all Hartnell stories, even the shite ones. So I do like this. This one is a big hit for me.
Fair enough. Awesome. And Cliff, I'll come to you next then. What are your thoughts on the War Machines?
I enjoyed it when I watched my big rewatch a couple of years ago over COVID, 6 years ago. But I do remember the big fuss about the reconstruction of the VHS, like putting all the extra scenes and bits and pieces in, because that was the first time we really got like a massive restoration team commentary experience kind of thing. There was a lot of detailed coverage in Doctor Who magazine, and it got his little documentary and stuff. So I kind of like the kind of the experience of seeing the War Machines. As a story, it's fine. It's very like a primitive Troughton. I think its tone is quite interesting because it kind of veers between quite adult and a little bit simplistic, and it's slightly all over the place in its tone. And the whole Doctor Who is required thing does bug me a little bit. I know, by the time you get to Moffat, you're kind of nulled by that, but, numbed by it rather. But, it's fine. It's fine. It's not my favorite, but, there's some good stuff. Ben and Polly are great.
Yeah, okay. So are we saying hit, soft, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Josh, over to you on the War Machines, if you're familiar with it.
I actually cannot say anything about this because I have not seen it.
Okay.
A lot of Hartnell stuff is still really hard to come by here.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that explains much, Josh.
Yeah, like the Hartnell episodes I have seen, I do love. Like I've seen an Unearthly Child.
Wow, think yourself lucky when you were able to do that in this day and age.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first classic Who episodes that I ever saw was an Unearthly Child. And I think we got his second season released here on Blu-ray. So I've seen that.
Yes, it is the Blu-ray set, yeah. DK just bought that for himself the other day, actually.
I did.
But
what a treat.
Yeah, a lot of I do and I do agree with DK. Like I do like a lot of Hartnell stuff, but this one I can't say anything about because I've never seen it. So
that's fair enough.
If I had to agree with everyone here, I would probably say it was a soft hit, but again, haven't seen it. So
yeah. Weirdly enough, I'm just going to echo everybody else's stuff, so it's not going to be particularly original, but I would say I haven't seen this a lot. I think I've only seen it once or twice, so it isn't as fresh in my mind as a lot of classic Who stuff. And it's long overdue another watch, but I can remember it. And I would say the same. I remember liking it, but it wasn't like, setting the world on fire. Wow, that was incredible. I do remember being really pissed off at the way it wrote out Dodo, because it is just like she disappears and then off screen, the doctor hears, oh, she's not coming with you. Oh, okay, I guess that's that then. But I
won't read the expanded universe novels then after that. Jesus.
Oh man, tell me about it. No, I'm not going to go there. But no, and I do remember really liking the actual introduction of Ben and Polly though, and the way that was handled, and it's very kind of its time, swinging 60s. They meet in a nightclub and whatever else. But it felt like a time capsule of the time, as does the whole post office tower and everything. And I do like weird robotic villains, if you could call Wotan that, I suppose. And yeah, I kind of like the War Machines themselves. They're a decent effect for the 60s. So again, I remember I would have come away thinking soft hit for this at the time, thinking like, yeah, that was good. Not like going on my top episodes of all time, but not bad. So I think overall we can safely say hit, even if it's not a huge hit, it's still a hit for the War Machines. So yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. So yeah, I'm going to do one more of these, and I'm going to do what I started doing the other episode, whereby I've got a little the wheel of names online that you can do, where you spin to come up with a random thing. So I'm not picking this. I have all of the remaining ones on here, and you can hear it spin when I click it. And we'll see what this randomly comes up with. So here we go. It is number... Come on. Woo! Number 14. Okay. So, number 14 is a character from very new Doctor Who is not Cyberman related in the slightest, but what the heck. So, hit or miss for the character of Ruby Sunday. And let's see. DK, I'll come to you first on
that. I really liked Ruby. I think she had a lot of potential. I especially like some of the later stories that they gave her. I just don't ask me about that finale of series 1. So
pick a number, series 1 or 2. They're both bad.
Yeah, I think Millie Gibson was really good. I didn't like her introduction. I didn't like the whole goblins bullshit. This is Doctor Who, not Labyrinth.
So somebody said that's what I was having this conversation, and Jenny was like, I remember you really hating the goblins and the fantasy element, and I was like, wasn't me. So clearly she's remembering you saying that, because I was on board with it.
I just think it's a bit. But yeah, the character itself, I think kind of works, other than her introduction and her origin. But
so just everything about her, really.
Everything about her, other than her day-to-day, how would you say, companion job. I think she was a really good companion, and I think she came into her own after she actually left. I do like the stories that involve her, especially the one with the douche boyfriend and stuff. Can't remember the name because my memory's
it's called Lucky Day. It's a big episode that me and Cliff have a disagreement on.
Yeah, but
one of many.
Yeah. But yeah, I like her, so she's a hit for me.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of Mr. Controversial, Cliff, over to you for your thoughts on Ruby Sunday.
Yeah, she's fine. She gets like hardly any character development at all. So it's kind of interesting that we always associate Russell T Davies with strong character development for companions, and there's very little. She's extremely well played. I think Millie Gibson's a fantastic actress who was clearly working under incredible pressure, and I think the way she was treated off. By the newspapers and not defended was appalling. And I think it's a great shame she's barely in the second Shooty series and is replaced by another excellent actress who has a couple of great episodes and then is basically binned and then stuck in a fridge. So I think she's a victim of circumstance. She's the companion that could have been, but as it is, she has a terrible arc plot and she barely gets anything to do, which is a shame.
Yeah. So where are we landing on that then? Because I can't really predict that either way. So
I'm so it feels incredibly bad to say a miss. Like, I'm going to say hit because Millie Gibson herself did sterling work.
I see. I can understand that for sure. Yeah. Sadly, we do kind of have to judge everything. So I see where you're coming from. The writing is an issue, but the performance, I think, is elevated enough. I can see why you would say it. Josh, over to you for this one.
For me, the character of Ruby Sunday, I liked her. I did. But I will agree that her introduction, not the best. I liked it. I was definitely not a fan of when they started to bring in the whole supernatural fantasy element, very heavy into the Disney Plus era. The biggest disappointment for me, though, was the reveal of her mother. Like, they built it up to be this big, great thing, and then it just dropped off. And it's like, I'm not going to lie. Honestly, with the footage they kept teasing for a while, I thought it was Jodie Whittaker's doctor. And then when it turns out...
very many theories,
And when it turns out just to be some random person, I'm like, oh, that was extremely anticlimactic.
Yeah, I've said this before, but the thing I really hate about that is that Russell T Davies, as a writer, basically thinks it's really clever to go, oh, you thought she was somebody important, did you? She's not. Why would you think that? And I just want to scrap on my TV. Like, I'm just coming up with this out of nowhere. You spent 8 episodes telling me she was important.
And it's one of my, actually probably my favorite episode of the Disney Plus era was I think it was 73 Yards, I think was the name of the episode.
Popular episode,
that was probably my favorite out of the Disney Plus era. And I know that it was very, very heavy around her. So, and like, don't get me wrong, I love Ncuti Gatwa is an actor. I think he's great, but his doctor did suffer from, just like Jodie Whittaker, suffered from bad writing.
Fair enough. I mean, poor guy, though. He's got such sore knees. Yeah, so my thoughts on Ruby won't really surprise anybody. They're not going to be that different. I would say hate for much of the same reasons that you guys have said. I don't love the way she's written. I don't love the big, like you said, the making out there's some great mystery or, magical element to her, and then there just isn't. That's always a little bit weak to me. It never really struck me as well as RTD seems to think that it should have.
It's a cop out for me for writing when you do something like that.
I mean, the thing that I would say, the several things I would say is that what makes her a hit for me is all the things you've mentioned. I really despise 73 Yards, but I think her performance in it is undeniably brilliant. Like, she really is strong in that episode. And similarly in Dot and Bubble, which she also basically has to carry, because those are the two kind of, Ncuti Gatwa was still busy filming sex education episodes. So she kind of carries a lot of those. And she's great. I like Church on Ruby Road personally. And I love Lucky Day, even though I know Cliff is not a fan of that particular one. And so I think whenever she's on screen, you can see she's a very gifted and talented actress. I do also wish she'd had more to do. And I don't understand why RTD felt the need to ditch her and replace her in the second series either. As much as, like I said, Varada, I agree, is also another fantastic actress, but it felt unnecessary, but whatever. The last thing I will say, the last little gripe that I have, which isn't towards the character, and again, it's the writing, is Man, I got so sick of her being abandoned by her adoptive mother. It happens like 3 times in the space of the series. And I'm like, we're supposed to really think this, this woman is so caring and adopted so many children and she's brilliant. And yet all we ever see of her is, I hate you. Like every single time, But again, that's an RTD issue, not a Millie or a Ruby issue. So we're going to say overall hit for Ruby Sunday. And we'll end the hit or miss section there. We'll open the floor to the episode in question, the storyline in question, shall I say, which is Revenge of the Cybermen. That's what we're looking at this week. That's going to be our main review. And Revenge of the Cybermen, if you are unaware, is the 5th and final serial of the 12th season, which was first broadcast in 4 weekly parts on BBC One from the 19th of April to 10th of May 1975. It was written by Cyberman co-creator Jerry Davis, except it wasn't. It was heavily rewritten, but we'll get into that. And it was directed by Michael E. Bryant. The serial was the first to feature the Cybermen since the invasion in 1968, and the last until Earthshock in 1982. It is set on Space Station Nerva, now called Nerva Beacon, and on the planet of gold, Voga, thousands of years before the arc in space from earlier in the season, which was set in the same place. In the serial, the Cybermen plot to destroy Voga as the gold there is lethal to them. Following the serial's release, it received mixed to negative reviews, shall we say. So, before I dive into BTS and any overall thoughts, I do like to go around, as you guys, I'm sure, remember, and ask what your initial thoughts were. Can you remember the first time you saw Revenge of the Cybermen and what you thought leaving it for that first time and kind of general overall spoiler-free thoughts? Joshua, I'm going to ask you that first.
So the first time that I saw it, I'm not going to lie, I kept getting distracted by other things because it could not keep my attention. Yeah, and upon rewatching it last night, same reaction. So, yeah.
Okay. Safe to say you didn't come away thinking, wow, that was a genuine classic.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I can't put my finger on why, but I think I'm kind of there with you in parts of this. So, for a slightly different view, perhaps, let's go to you, Cliff, then, and ask what your initial impressions were of Revenge and what you maybe think of it now in a spoiler-free way.
Yeah, the Genesis of the Daleks audio cassette was one of my very first Doctor Who things that I owned. I'm not even sure I entirely understood that it directly followed Genesis at first. And so it was a little while before I saw Ark in Space, because you see these things out of order. So the whole Nerva Beacon thing, I got it the wrong way around. I quite liked it. I thought it was fine. It wasn't my favorite when I was a kid, but I do remember it was that kind of thing of renting it a few times because, there were a handful of Doctor Who videos across 2 video shops, to the point where it turned up on Christmas. It's like, we've rented this as many times as we could. We could have just bought it by now, so we've bought it for you, which was very nice. I thought it was fine. There were other better stories. I don't think I hated it. And then, of course, when I got exposed to fandom a little bit later, it gets a real drubbing in Discontinuity Guide, and it's not a popular story. So I think I got a little bit caught up in that when I was a teenager.
Yeah, no, it's easily done, especially when you're trying to kind of when you're an easily influenced teen, you're like, oh, I'm going to go with the flow of what everyone else says. And I do have a little bit later on about the critical response, including a brief discussion of that Discontinuity Guide and their initial thoughts on this, which aren't kind, shall we say. But yeah. So anyway, DK, over to you then for thoughts on Revenge of the Cybermen.
The first time I saw this, don't laugh, please. It kind of blew me away. I loved it. But you have to remember that I am so freaking old that when this came out, it was the only Doctor Who video available. It wasn't to purchase. It was to rent. It was on Betamax, and on the cover it had an Earthshock Cyberman. And, at that point, Davison was playing the Doctor. And my dad saw it and thought, oh, he'll like this. So he rented it. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't the Earthshock Cyberman, but I loved it. It captured my imagination, and I watched it so many times, and to the point that my dad actually asked the rental store if he could buy the video, because there was no way of watching Doctor Who media back then. And yeah, my love of it has changed slightly, I'm guessing, over the years. But yeah, there are moments, and I've watched it that many times as a child. I could, pretty much go through it as it's playing and say what the next line's going to be. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it when I first saw it, and I think that's something that we lose as we get older, and especially on a cast a critical eye towards it. That it is, in essence, a children's show. And back then, I was a child. Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, don't let us by any means influence anybody, listeners or other guests. If you like the story, I'm not here to beat you down into submission by any means. But yeah, my initial thoughts about it were not good. I never really was into Doctor Who at the same time as kind of you guys were, who are of the same age to me. So I didn't kind of grow up with the scarcity of Doctor Who media. And I've said before, I didn't start watching all of the classic series until after 2005 when the show came back. So that would have been when I went through the classics. And like I said, it's kind of, I think it probably hurts the episode a little bit that it's at the end of what was my favorite classic season. Like, I think Robot is great. I adore Ark in Space. Like I said, it's one of my favorite classics. Sontaran Experiment is a fine little 2-episode thing. Genesis of the Daleks is slightly overrated, but you can see why it's got its iconic status. And then I'm like, oh, well, this is going to be great. We've done Sontarans, we've done Daleks. This is an iconic Tom Baker series, and this is the Cybermen, so this is going to be fantastic. And then this happened. I was like, oh, that's a shame. Because, yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but it's the Cybermen are unrecognizable to me as anything resembling Cybermen. They could just be any generic piece of crap, antagonistic squad. And there's nothing in it that appeals to me in the way that this kind of robot cyber technology type storylines often do, because it's got nothing to do with anything other than this allergy to gold that they introduced, which is like, okay, fair enough, I guess. But yeah, so I remember not liking it. Like you said, Josh, I was with you a lot of the time. I was just bored. I felt like a lot of it was padding or just not particularly well filmed or well written. I don't know. And I will say, I mean, when I got the season 12 Blu-ray set, I found the behind-the-scenes stories and everything about this infinitely more entertaining and fascinating than the story itself. So there is that. I mean,
and the thing is, I honestly feel like the story could have taken place within like 2, maybe 3 episodes. I feel like the controllers over at the BBC were like, yeah, you need to stretch this into 4 weeks. And
they didn't really do 2 episodes. I mean, Sontaran Experiment being the one kind of real rarity, but
yeah, but I feel like I definitely feel like the story was just, a lot of it was just fluff.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like they had a story and it wasn't long enough to fit the normal at minimum 4-episode serial, and they're like, yeah, you got to add something in here. And
I agree. Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the whole gold allergy came from, that, if I remember correctly, was never shown again.
Oh, no, it does. It becomes important several times again. Yeah.
I must have missed it somewhere then.
It's definitely a huge plot point in Silver Nemesis, and it's referenced as an Easter egg in Rise of the Cybermen and a couple of others, and becomes important again in Nightmare in Silver.
Earthshock?
Oh, an Earthshock, of course. Duh. What am I thinking? Yes, of course, the gold badge being mushed into somebody's chest. Yep,
that's right. Yeah, I haven't seen Earthshock in a while. I got to catch up on that one too. But yeah, it's just with this episode, I feel like it could have been so much more, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, no, I was the same, and I also thought the pacing was a little odd, and it just felt like there's a few stories that are like this, but the disparate parts just didn't fully connect for me. So the whole thing that it does with the virus, that it then just forgets halfway through, and I'm just like, all right, what was that about? I mean, we just forgetting that now, and now we're going on to this other plot about destroying the gold planet or something, and all right. I get it, but it seems a bit weird. And like I said, when you hear about the behind the scenes and the way it was kind of written and rewritten and bits added and taken away, I kind of get that when watching this, in a way that I don't always I don't always notice how messy these things are. But here I'm like, yeah, this feels like too many cooks situation. There's just too much trying to be chucked in, and it's a bit of a mess. And this is where I will give my obligatory recommendation to the original script, which was made as a Big Finish audio, which is right in front of me right now, called Return of the Cybermen. It's made as one of the lost stories, which is, it has to be said, infinitely better, even though it is only audio and we have to make do with, replacement actors for Sarah Jane and Harry. Yeah, I just don't understand why you would mess with the script when it was so much better to begin with. And what they've ended up with is worse than the original. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And again, your mileage may vary. I'm not sure if anybody else has listened to that Big Finish play. I'm assuming DK, Cliff, you would be the only ones that we might have done.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that one, so
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of familiar enough with the TV version, and I do remember the script being published in DWB for the 30th anniversary. So I vaguely recall reading, I think it was the full script. And I think you had the thing with season 12 is you got HoM's and Hinchcliffe was still fairly, it was Hinchcliffe's first season, and HoM's had been around a little bit, but they were trying to put their own stamp on Doctor Who. But they'd also got a bunch of writers who'd written for it mostly in the 60s. So Terry Nation had come, he'd done a bit in the 70s, but, he was a strong 60s writer. You've got John Lucarotti for Ark in Space, who's returning after having done a few Hartnells. And so you've got the pace of the arc, being quite slow, just the three of them for that whole first episode, pretty much. It feels very 60s. And I think they rejected the original Revenge of the Cybermen script just because it felt like something from, 10 years before to them, where they wanted to make something a bit more fresh and modern. But I think the seeds of that are still there when they're wandering around the space station at the beginning, and, the sort of the Vogons are a bit like Selenites almost from First Men in the Moon. There's a very retro vibe to it. And I think it's that sort of thing of HoM's and Hinchcliffe trying to put their own stamp on, but also working with a lot of experienced guest writers.
Yeah, I understand. The thing that baffles me is that, we're not talking about a minor sort of change here or there. The thing that struck out to me the most when, listening to the original script done is there's no place for the Vogons. They're not part of the story, and it works better without them. So I just don't get why this whole thing was chucked in. This entire Civil War plot on their planet, and them, being the planet of gold. Okay, I get, but why? Why did somebody decide to add all this gubbins to something that was just not necessary at all?
When I was rewatching it last night, and the Vogons came back up, I'm like, oh, why do these remind me of the Morlocks from the 1960 version of the Time Machine?
No idea.
Somebody watched some George Powell before they rewrote this.
I'm sure it's come up, but I've never encountered it. Has anybody ever explained the Seal of Rassilon?
Yeah, I was wondering the exact same thing, actually.
I think there's been slight attempts in non-canon sort of spin-offs to try to do it, but most of the time you're just supposed to not notice. But yeah, that comes up in the BTS. Don't worry, I do get to that. But yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Bizarre. But yeah, we'll hit that. For anybody who's wondering what we're talking about, we'll get to that situation. Yeah, I don't understand why this whole thing was added. And anyway, never mind. With that out of the way, anyway, we've talked probably a bit too much about that, but I just wanted to give my initial impressions. I'm going to hit on the behind-the-scenes stuff. DK, if you like, did you want me to go through the stuff that I've got first? And then if there's anything that I've missed that you wanted to bring up, you can do.
You can do, yeah. I've only got a couple of things, but yeah, you go for it, dude.
I'm hoping I've already done them, but I didn't try to do too much. I found bits and pieces.
Well, if I recall rightly, I was... you didn't have too much because you said, and I quote, "I can't do this. My soul is leaving my body."
And then, ironically, I found out quite a bit. And like I said, for some reason, the behind the scenes of this story is more interesting than the story itself. So here we go.
That meant that you could just tune in and see any event in history.
Yes, that's exactly what this is.
No, Doctor, you're kidding.
Speaking of which, let's dive into it. So the behind the scenes on this one. The story was shot on the same set as the Ark in Space, representing a substantial cost saving with location filming in Wookiee Hole Caves. That's a location in the UK, not what Chewbacca calls his missus's private areas.
Oh, good God. Have we reached that level already?
I have to entertain myself somehow.
Not even my fault this time.
This time. This episode was shot, or this story was shot in the production block immediately after Ark in Space, which explains why the production code is out of broadcast sequence for any hardcore nerds like myself who care about such things. The location filming at Wookiee Hole was plagued by a series of problems, which the crew blamed on a curse. The curse apparently was brought about when director Michael E. Bryant's wife found some Iron Age arrowheads and decided to take them home. Bryant encountered an individual in spelunking gear, which the Wookiee Hole staff had no knowledge of, whom Bryant was convinced was the spirit of a potholder who had died in the caves 3 years earlier. The assistant floor manager suffered a severe attack of claustrophobia. Another crew member fell ill, and an electrician suffered a broken leg when a ladder collapsed. At one point, Elizabeth Sladen and Ian Marter approached Bryant with concerns that he'd forgotten to record a scene, only to then find themselves unable to locate it in their scripts. The production staff also found a small rock formation that the locals called the Witch. Despite warnings, they proceeded to put a witch hat and cloak on it, because messing around with supposed cursed things always turns out well. That same day, during the scene when Sarah Jane rides one of the water skimmers, the boat went wild and Liz Sladen was forced to jump off, treading water despite wearing heavy boots, until her rescue by stuntman Terry Walsh. Both of them required precautionary vaccinations at a local hospital, but were otherwise thankfully unhurt. The boat itself, however, disappeared and was never seen again. Similarly, the pyrotechnician of the episode found that nothing would light or work correctly after this. The director finally took the arrowheads from his wife and reburied them, after which production ran smoothly. So, one for the Derek Akoras or the secret spooky investigators of the world, I think, this one. The secret radio transmitter disguised as a clothes brush used by Kelman is the same prop that appears in the 1973 James Bond film Live and Let Die. The prop was handed over by Bond star Roger Moore when he visited the BBC in 1973. He later told the Radio Times that the props master, not recognising Moore, had paid him 2 shillings and 6pence for the item. And I quote Roger Moore here, "I'd popped into the Beeb for a cup of tea and spotted a notice about an upcoming Doctor Who, so I thought the darlings would be so cash-strapped they'd need anything they could get their hands on. It wasn't MGM after all, but I didn't expect to walk out with 2 and 6. That is the most British story I think I've ever heard. Anyway, and as DK alluded to, the serial is the first appearance of a circular symbol containing interlocking spirals, which was designed by Roger Murray Leach for the Vogan costumes and interior sets. In a bit of a continuity error, Leach later reused this Vogan symbol for the 1976 serial The Deadly Assassin as a symbol of the Time Lords. It later became known as the Seal of Rassilon, the founder of Time Lord Society, and has appeared many times as a Time Lord symbol since. So, that's what I've got then, DK. Did you have anything else?
Let me have a look. The cyber leader voice in this story is noted for being reminiscent of Darth Vader. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Vogan character Kelman behaves as if he knows he's going to die, often acting without logical motivation for survival. And the redesigned cybermats in the story were largely static, and close-ups were spliced together because they would not move on their own.
Fair enough. Cool. Well, I do have bits and pieces on the sort of areas that we touch on, the little sections as well to get to. So as I said, we're going to dive into the actual bulk of the review then, and we're going to begin our analysis of it. And we're going to do what we always do, which is just to, kind of keep it loosely into things like writing and plot, direction, VFX, acting, etc., just to keep our notes going. But again, if the conversation flows, we'll just go with it. We go with the flow. So, starting with the writing and the plot, again, as I said, this is kind of a fascinating story of how this thing happened, and I kind of wanted to get into it a little bit. So, Revenge did go through a difficult scripting process. Jerry Davis wrote the initial script and titled it Return of the Cybermen, but this original plot bore almost no resemblance to the transmitted episode, with the action taking place on a deserted space casino. More rewriting from Davis followed, and the action now largely took place on Nerva Beacon. However, the script included no Vogans, as I said, with their place being taken by a group of half-starved Welsh gold miners. Script editor Robert Holmes largely rewrote the episodes. He added the Vogans and got rid of the human gold miners entirely, as well as a female member of the Nerva crew named Anitra. An audio adaptation, as I've already said, of Revenge's original storyline was released in March 2021. So you can compare for yourself. Producer Philip Hinchcliffe, as Cliff said, was new to the program. This serial was actually commissioned by his predecessor, Barry Letts. Letts and Holmes felt that with a new Doctor coming in, it would be best to play safe by using familiar big-name monsters, such as the Daleks and Cybermen in their first season. The script was modified as production developed to incorporate Tom Baker's style, and also had to be rewritten to modify how Jerry Davis has envisaged the new Doctor as a more timid, reserved figure, much in the manner of Patrick Troughton, again, as Cliff was alluding to there. It happened to be rather unlike Baker's portrayal, though. Davis, it has to be said, was also unhappy with the story's new title, perhaps somewhere whinging about the fact that revenge was not a Jedi concept or something. I don't know. So yeah, that's the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm going to go around and ask us what our initial thoughts on the writing and the plot are, what works, what doesn't. If I'm going to pick on you, then what are your thoughts on the writing of this one?
Yeah, so as I sort of said before, it's got a very 60s vibe, which I think Hinchcliffe and Holmes tried to kind of update, but, you know, there are still a lot of remnants there. You know, the Vogons take the place of human miners from the original version, you know, probably to add a little bit of interest. And, you know, the Doctor is interesting because, you know, they don't really know what Tom's Doctor is going to be like. So he's quite Sherlock Holmes. He's got bits of Troughton and bits of Pertwee in him, I think. You know, there's just something that's just a little bit different to how Tom is later. You know, the bulk of it is there. You know, it's a good performance, and there's a lot of the quirkiness from Robot that I think is held over as well. A lot of the sort of the randomness. And Harry, I think Harry comes out very well from it. You know, he's quite well written. You know, he's quite a 60s style character. So I think, you know, he does fit well in the story. And Sarah Jane, the way they write the companions. So, I mean, Sarah is either dynamic and engaged and gets to be quite adult, or sometimes she's written a little bit like a child. You know, I don't think a lot of the older writers ever quite sort of pitched, you know, they were still possibly thinking in 60s terms of more a teenage girl. So there's elements where Sarah comes across, you know, and Liz Sladen just goes for it. She's just like, oh, I'm a little girl in this bit, so I'll just play it like that. Whereas later on, she kind of accidentally starts a training video, which gives a lot of information, and they go, oh yeah, without kind of saying anything, she's a journalist again. She's like, oh, she's found some information, and she's going to sit and watch and absorb. And you know, they don't hammer that home. You know, that's quite a nice little bit. But yeah, the main thing is, you know, Cybermen themselves work best, I think, in shadow and when they're not saying very much. So I think the big problem with the script is the amount of dialogue that the Cybermen have. And, you know, Holmes is wanting to sort of make interesting, talkative villains that can spar off Tom. You do wonder if any of the stuff came out of rehearsal as well, you know, whether, you know, how much lines were changed from the rehearsal script. You know, because there'll be something in between Jerry Davis's original and the Robert Holmes one. But yeah, there's the Cybermen's dialogue and the way they are generally is, you know, it's the big flaw of the story. But also they work slightly better now than I think they did back then, because they sound a bit more like Siri would. You've got
they really don't.
Well, I don't know. I say Siri. I don't use AI things at all because I hate it all. But you know, the sort of generally slightly off American accent that's not quite right but almost right is. No,
they're way too erudite for me. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's a point that I made to DK, which was just that, like, we complained in the Tomb of the Cybermen that you could barely understand the kind of vocoderized electronic voice of the Cybermen, or even the weird kind of sing-song voices of the 10th Planet one. And I was just saying to DK, it's like, it's incredible that they've gone from a barely comprehensible speaking spell to like rather trained RP pronunciation, you know, people performing Hamlet to Tom Baker. And it's just like, what are you?
Yeah, it kind of feels to me like they brought the Cybermen in and completely forgot what the Cybermen were. There is no talk of conversion, and they're treated as robots rather than.
Yep. Oh, I have that exact note. Yeah, I was going to get into that a little bit because that was the thing that really pissed me off. Was it acts in the same way that I have a problem with Destiny of the Daleks, because it forgets that the Daleks have life forms in them. This just seems to be under the impression from the co-creator of the Cybermen that they're just robots, and it's like you said, it's baffling. Like, they're a massively dilapidated army after the cyber wars and need to build up their numbers. So they decide that the best course of action is to kill an entire space station full of possible cyber converts. That's just a waste of resources, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that actually threw me off about the whole episode is why weren't they trying to convert everybody?
Yeah. Well, they don't mention it, as you said. There's nary a mention whatsoever of it. And I've got a note of the actual dialogue because it really annoyed me. And I was like, this is literally the opposite of everything we've been told about the Cybermen. So that's Tom Baker says they are total machine creatures. No, they're not. That's literally the opposite of what they are. They're not robots. They are cyborgs. As I said, they never kill. They handily neutralize everybody. Never even think of taking them and upgrading them. Even when they need somebody to deliver the bombs, probably would have been very handy to just turn them into a Cyberman and have them send you a bomb, but whatever. They mentioned that on their ship they have enough parts to build a new cyber army. What, without people? They're superior to living animals. The Doctor says they are loose thinking with hydraulic muscles and hydraulic brains, which again isn't true. And they're robots. That doesn't make any sense for me. And that's the other thing the Doctor says, well, I suppose I can't expect decent English from a machine. They're not machines, man. I get really head up about this android robot cyborg differentiation in sci-fi because I'm a huge nerd. So it really it rankles me no end when somebody gets it completely wrong, and especially when you've established what these guys are, and they're not just tin soldiers skulking about wanting to take over. It's not their raison d'etre at all. Doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, I never regard them as just robots. It defeats what's special about them. There's any number of, you could just invent a new robotic species if you wanted to. You could just, as I said, they don't even need to be robots. They could be just a group of mercenaries, of any kind, because they do act way more like just your average mercenary. They're not super logical or anything, particularly to me. They don't seem overly cold.
It's a sort of almost like a half remember thing. I mean, there's this classic thing about, Doctor Who had no season Bible. It was whatever the writers could remember at the time. And, we had a whole bunch of Cybermen stories that weren't actually that long ago. I mean, we're talking like 7 or 8 years before this. And they do go through, they have the veiny virus that controls people's minds in the moon base. And then they possess or like they hypnotize people in Wheel in Space. And then you've got Tobias Vaughan, who's the first like willing sort of human accessory, but they've already like converted his body into a Cyberman. He kept his brain and he kept his personality. And it's like a sort of odd evolution of just like taking a bit of a concept and changing it. And they sort of lose the original point. But they probably went, oh yeah, we've got our veiny virus, that's like Moonbase. We've got our human agent, and isn't it a good twist that he's a double agent this time? Maybe, that's new, but maybe that makes more sense. But yeah, it's almost like a sort of game of telephone, in that sort of half remembered thing.
Yeah, it's kind of its time in the 70s, I'll give it that. But like I said, I just think even the sort of greatest hits type things that the script tries to do are just done quite weakly. It's kind of a feeble sort of that'll do, plug and play situation without really seeming to care or, give it the requisite thought. But again, that could just be me. But no, it's strange you mentioned that because I did have that note that like if I'm looking for good things to say about this serial, which I am, I don't want to be just entirely negative. We'll get to the negatives again later. I do have to say that the 3 cliffhangers are actually fantastic. I mean, Classic Who is renowned for good cliffhangers, but in this one, I think cliffhanger 1, where the Cyberman attacks Sarah, is an actual shock. The second one that you mentioned, it's good to see them kind of, get plowing through everybody and taking the beacon. I'm a little bit annoyed, as I always am, that the Doctor is incapacitated and they just go, no, we could kill him, but he is merely unconscious. In that kind of like, I'm going to put him in an easily escapable situation and assume it went to plan.
It's far too quick. They say, no, he's not dead. Yeah, have you killed him?
Yeah.
No, he just neutralized.
Yeah, exactly. So I could have done without that, but still it works. And again, the cliffhanger of part 3, the avalanche is a little bit cheesy and a bit iffy, but it's fine. And I especially like the idea that, we know what's going to happen if Harry unclips that bomb and it's his hand reaching for it. That's the cliffhanger because you go, oh no. So that works for me as well. So would you guys say the same about the cliffhangers? Did you at least like those aspects?
I do agree that Doctor Who does do great cliffhangers. And the way they did them in this, it was really well done. Especially when Harry is about to unclip the buckle. But still, for me, Harry's just an asshole.
Yeah. Poor Harry. He gets mistreated by the Doctor bad enough. I'm not going to criticize him. Bless his heart. He's trying. Yeah. Even though I've got an example of some really horrendous dialogue that he gives at the start of Part 4 that I'll mention later on, because I think there's an awful lot of Part 4 that's just like, wow, who wrote this dialogue? It's terrible.
The William Shatner Cyberman, it just doesn't it just doesn't kind of work for me. I mean, they look good, but as Cliff said, they're better in the shadows, not when they're supposed to be giving, Bond villain speeches. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Definitely. I have to, this is where I'll interject. When I do the edit, I have a couple of things I want to put in, which is, first of all, the really famous shot of the very un-Cyberman-like man-spreading Cyberman in front of Sarah Jane, full-on hands-on-hips situation, which just, I think, emphasizes a lot of what's wrong with this story. It just looks ridiculous. And then I did definitely send the clip that I'd filmed, because I just found it hilarious to you, DK, and you, Cliff, but I don't think I sent it to you, Josh. Which is just the moment where the Cyberman grab the Doctor and Sarah, and the Cyberman that grabs the Doctor is just giving him a shoulder massage, just randomly shaking him, and I'm just like, what are you doing? This is hilariously bad, and can you really say the director didn't notice how awful this was? And then I sent the clip onto our Discord, and our friend Toby was just like, oh, you were so distracted by that, you're not noticing that poor Elizabeth Sladen just hasn't got a clue how to play this. She's like, am I scared? Am I withheld? Shall I go for a dab? No, that's too much. How am I supposed to be reacting to this?
Something that crept into my mind as I was watching it this time. It was just after they tied Sarah up in Part 4, and the Cyberman turns round and walks off. And because this costume is more figure-hugging, shall we say, than previous Cyberman designs.
Sexy Flanders.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, Cybermen have butt cheeks?
Cyberbombs, Doctor.
Yeah. It's just looking at them going, excellent. So
that's what they were referring to. They were saying cyber bums were to be carried to Voga, not bombs. You see?
That's where they hide the cyber mats. They're compressed in there.
You do not want to see them deploying them from the butt cheeks, I tell you. That does not look pleasant.
This remake of and this like retcon of how cyber mats look, they're like something you pick up from a shop in Soho.
They're terrible, yeah, and it's so blatant that they're doing like the CSO type thing or whatever you want to call it, where they can't move and they're supposed to be leaping onto people and they just look really badly like photoshopped in every time that they attack. I'm just like, oh, this is so bad. Like, I feel bad judging 70s special effects, but we've seen better than that already, surely, So
what's funny is last night when I was during my rewatch when the first one came slithering, I'm like, oh, I had a snake toy that reminds me of when I was a kid. If I would have just spray painted it silver.
It doesn't look particularly unique. I'm going to get to the last point that I want to make, but I have to vent slightly and say that, my word, I mean, we criticized Cyberwoman's dialogue in just our last episode, and some of the dialogue in Part 4 of this is just absolutely just beyond reproach. So I don't mind the whole Harry Sullivan is an imbecile shout out, that's fine, whatever. The Doctor acts like that sometimes. But then immediately afterwards, when Harry's trying to brief the Doctor and he's like, yes, well, and then Kelman, he's dead, by the way. I'm just like, all right, just break it to me gently, Harry, jeez. Then the Doctor's like, yes, and then the Cybermen send us down here, and Harry's like, oh, yes, Cybermen, yes, I'm bad on names, yes, that's what they're called. What is this? It's just painful. And then, I think it's the Vogan that's like, yes, and then our enemies will be utterly destroyed, annihilated, vaporized. It is good. Oh, come on. And then later on, when the missile gets shot down, my Sky Striker, my glory.
I love that line. I would argue there's a mix of good and bad. I think that these are fair points that you make, and I understand. But I do think there's some nice stuff early on. I think they barge in early on and they see Warner, who is down with the plague, the cyber mad bite, and they're about to put him down like they found a rabbit with myxomatosis on, or a deer that's been hit. That's literally like, oh shit. we better kill him. And Tom's line, "Who's the homicidal maniac?" is rather good. I rather like that. There is a slightly judgy, the bit where he says, "I sometimes wonder if your friend is quite right in the head," is a little bit too pally. When they've only known each other 5 minutes. I do wish, Ronald Lee Hunt is brilliant in it, but it's a little bit too soon for that tone of delivery.
I think that's Tom, though, isn't it? He's Tom's gonna do what Tom's gonna do. You just gotta have to let him roll with it. If he's a little bit too familiar, if he's saying something that's off script, you've just got to. I think at times that the directors were just like, "Is this a fight I really want to be going with for the next 3 hours, or should I just let it go?" So I kind of forgive them for stuff like that. Yeah, I'm going to move on. I will say quickly, it seems kind of silly to mention this because it's a kind of common Doctor Who trope, but I do think the episode also ended way too abruptly. But again, I could say that about probably 90% of classic Doctor Who because that's just what happens. And again, the TARDIS turned up way too conveniently. But again, if I'm going to start criticizing that, then that's 90% of the show.
That was one of my biggest things with this episode too, was that the TARDIS just turned up once everything was over.
Yeah, just exactly at that point though. It was like, oh yeah, there we are.
It's the hands. It's like, it's safe now. I'll show up.
Yes, the Hands is a coward, clearly. But anyway, I'm going to move us on to the next section, which is the direction by Michael E. Bryant. I have nothing to say about this behind the scenes wise or anything. And I only have a couple of notes myself, but I'm not going to dive into those just yet because they're pretty inconsequential. So, Cliff, I'm going to come to you first. You know your stuff when it comes to these things. What did you make of the direction? Is there anything that stands out as especially good or even bad in the directing of this?
For good, I think the film work is excellent, especially considering the circumstances and the bad luck and the problems they had. I think the Cybermen look really great. This sounds so disingenuous. The Cybermen look really great in the dark, but they look really great in shadows, and they're able to shoot them low on film cameras. So obviously in the studio everything's a little bit kind of flatter. And kind of more sort of chest level, eye level. There's some really nice low shots of them walking around. Caves are good. Caves work well. There feels like a lot of Vogons around. He probably didn't have many extras in costumes or characters, but I think he makes quite good use of what he has, which was also a feature of Death to the Daleks as well. With the Exelons. I think he's particularly good at having big, wide open spaces that feel like they're full of people on a BBC budget, in a way that other directors aren't. And I think he's cast it very well. I think the human actors and the Vogon actors are excellent. I mean, you've got Kevin Stoney, who was obviously in, The Invasion, and he was Mavic Chen and Tobias Vaughan, so two big roles.
Wow, really?
He's in a fairly thankless role. I think, is he Margaret? I
didn't even realize that was him.
he's either Margaret. I think he's Tyrem, actually. Yeah, he's Tyrem, the older, supposedly sweeter Vogon. And then you've got David Collings, who obviously is so amazing in Robots of Death and Mordrin Undead. So he's Vorus. And he might struggle in the mask a little bit sometimes. I think the whiskers get a bit caught up in his mouth once or twice. But he's got that like silky smooth line. I would love his voice. As an actor, he's one of my all-time favorite voices. And I'm always really sad. I never got to work with him. He died quite early on in COVID, which was very sad. He was one of the first victims, well-known victims of COVID, alongside Hamish Wilson, who was the other Jamie in Mind Robbers. That's very sad. But I think it's very okay. Ronald Leigh Hunt is great. He feels quite different to how he is in The Seeds of Death, which isn't bad. Maybe people wouldn't rush to think of that one. He's commander kind of character. And then you've got your man who's also in Mind of Evil. Yes, William Marlowe. He was Mailer in Mind of Evil. And he's very good in that as well. So I think Michael E. Bryant did a fairly decent job. The big problem is the Cybermen voices. If he'd have cut those down, would have been better.
I always find myself baffled I'm probably going to look really silly if this doesn't turn out to be true, but I'm sure it is, that I read somewhere that one of the Vogans is Michael Wisher, who did Davros, literally the serial before. And I'm like, wow, he went off the most impactful and incredible performance as Davros, was cast in the very next story and makes so little impact that I'm genuinely not sure he's there.
Well, they were shot the other way round. So he was in Revenge before Genesis.
Of course,
But you know, he had a little taster of working behind a mask. And he's also the voiceover that's asking about Crewmaster Colville at the very beginning.
Oh, that's a shame, because I thought that was terrible. That was so lifeless and dull, that particular voice role. That's a shame, because I like Michael Wisher.
But it's a sign that he's a good actor, the fact that you didn't know it was him.
True. I like him anyway. I think he's good in Carnival of Monsters, a serial that I do love. But that's neither here nor there. So, general thoughts on the acting and directing then, as we're kind of dealing with both. DK, I'm going to come to you for that.
As Cliff mentioned earlier, I think the direction in some scenes, especially in Wookiee Hole, I think they're done really well. They're quite atmospheric, even though, you know, the Cybermen walking into the cabin takes place at least 3 times.
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
Yeah, but it's very atmospheric. I think the location shooting on this was done really well. I was impressed with that. The scenes, the studio scenes, not as much, but you work with what you have.
I made the same note. I said it's such. I mean, I know it's a common thing, but it's such an obvious moment when they switch between film and videotape. But it just hurts the stuff that's done in studio, because the stuff on location looks so good. And then you switch back to the Nerva set, and you're like, oh, we're back on the set of Play School, are we? Jeez.
Yeah. And then you look at. I mean, even before you brought the thing about the curse. You look at the little section, you know, for example, just with Sarah Jane on the boat, and you just think, well, they were all doing this. Health and safety would have a fit these days.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I do think the location shooting, especially, really well. What was the other thing that you asked? Sorry.
Just generally, what about the acting and stuff? Like, is there anybody that stands out, or for good or bad, really, that we haven't already talked about? Because we kind of did.
Not necessarily stands out, but I mean, come on. If you run into someone like Kelman in the street, you just punch him. He's so, bulldog chewing a wasp kind of face, and he's so antagonistic. You would just think, there would be no. If I met someone like that at work, you'd think, oh, this guy's obviously after a promotion, and he would foot you over to do it. You think he's a double agent, even when there's no sides to be taken.
He
just seems like a fun.
Yeah, he sets up one of the best lines. I mean, I've used this line a lot. It's like, I've seen a lot of people die, good men too, yet a thing like that is still alive. I remember saying that over COVID.
No, I mean, I'll chime in with my few 2 cents, and then I'll come to you, Josh, to finish things up with this, because there's things that I like about the direction. As I said, I think the location footage shooting really works. I did think the Cybermat reveal was effective, even if it then immediately ruins it when it starts leaping at people in bad, CGI or CSO, sorry, not CGI. I liked some of the kind of zoom ins and the crash zooms. I think it's a good example of how kinetic Michael Bryant can be. Like you, Cliff, I also think it was very impressive to me that he made it feel like a really epic big battle until you actually zoom in and you realize you're watching like maybe 4 Vogans and like 3 Cybermen or whatever. And you're like, well, kudos to you, because it looks like there's some epic, massacre going on in these caves, and you're making it look like impressive. And there's maybe 10 people here at most.
Yeah. So, I mean, compared to Warriors of the Deep or something like that, he does a lot better job than a lot of other stories on that.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of things I couldn't take seriously. I can't remember the name of the character, but the guy that looks like Tony Blackburn sacrificing himself was just comical to me. I spent a lot of my notes just writing down Tony Blackburn and Lloyd Bridges on the Nerva Beacon, because I couldn't be bothered to work out their actual character names or actors, and that's what they looked like to me. So yeah, but anyway, in terms of the acting, like I said, I was shocked with the Michael Wisher thing. I think the we've already said as much as I could potentially say about the regulars. Tom Baker, you just let go. Ian Marter was doing a really good job with the thankless roles. Liz as Sarah Jane was just basically playing what was in front of her. So sometimes, like you said, she's a schoolgirl or a damsel in distress. Sometimes she's a kick-ass secret agent or a journalist. It just depends on the day. Yeah. So you just go with it. And I would just echo what you said. The Cyberman acting and the voices, unfortunately, I think are terrible and kind of let things down. So over to you then, Joshua. Thoughts on acting and directing that we haven't mentioned?
The regulars, I think, did good as far as the acting goes. But for me, again, I'm going to go back to Harry. I have never liked Harry, and I don't care for his performance, especially in this serial. The direction, I think it was good for what the director had to work with. I do. The location shots, I agree with everybody else. The location shots are amazing. A lot of the angles, the upshots were great. And again, it all goes back to what the director had to work with and the locations and everything. So yeah, with the acting and the directing, the series regulars were good, but a lot of the guest stars, in my opinion, they were
flat, very
Yeah, I would have made some other creative choices, but that's just me.
That's fair enough. I mean, I didn't like or dislike them. I mean, I'm not going to dispute Cliff's, bigging up of some of the more classic actors. I just didn't. I wasn't feeling the script, so I don't think it's their fault. I just think I was like bored by the writing, to be honest. So I was like,
100%. And for me, if an actor doesn't have a well-written script, they can't, no matter how hard they try, they can't make it amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm going to move us along now. I don't want to take too much longer because this is going to be a long episode. So just about the VFX production design, I have a couple of things to mention. The masks for the principal actors playing the Vogans were specially molded to their faces, but for the non-speaking artists, the BBC had to cut costs. I know, shocking. According to actor David Collins on the DVD commentary, he played Vorus. The masks for the extras were made using a facial mold of Dad's Army star Arnold Ridley.
God.
No idea.
Oh my God, that's who the leader of the long hairs remind me of.
So now you know.
Holy shit.
Sorry, I'll give you a moment to just process that.
Yeah, that's going to take some. Yeah.
Anyway, originally the cyber costumes from the 1968 serial The Invasion were to have been used, but only 2 had survived and they were in very poor condition, which necessitated entirely new outfits, including chest panels constructed from the innards of old TV sets and trousers, which for the first time since the moon base were not tucked into the cyber boots. Again, can't say I noticed or cared about such things. I'm like you, DK, I like this design, but also like you, Joshua, I don't like that the handles are just hoses. Like the corrugated hose effect, it kind of comes off looking a bit silly to me. So I'm in two minds with regards to that. And I've mentioned all my other issues with the effects, the floating through space, dodginess, the cyber mats, I do like the plague effect. I think it's a really good glowing red type thing. And
if I can chime in for a sec, sorry, Mike. One thing I noticed when I was watching it last night, I never noticed it before. When they first get to the space station, I was looking, and the stars in the background are swaying back and forth, just because they're just lights back there, just strung up. They're Christmas lights.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess there's wind blowing the stars around.
I kind of have to forgive that though, because it's also in Ark in Space, which is a serial that I love. So I can't criticize it here and not criticize it in that one, because they literally are using the same sets. So I'm like, oh, bless you, you're trying. But anyway. So anyone else have any thoughts then on the, let's see, VFX production design? Cliff, I'll come to you first.
I really appreciate that the Blu-ray has some CGI effect options. So I don't do the whole Star Wars kind of, it's nice that the originals are there and you've got an option. So we're not forced to watch them only. Mm-hmm. You can still compare the originals. I do think the final sort of the Nerva descent is actually much better on Blu-ray, and the monitors and the screens.
I think I like the original better on that, because I got hooked. That was one of the parts I really liked. I got really hooked into that when I first saw the serial, and even though I know it's basic, like I said to you off air, I love a good just model shot and trying your best with gaffer tape and
the performances sell it as well. I mean, the main thing about Doctor Who is it's always about the performances selling it. So, you know, if you're worried about the effects, then the actors aren't doing their job. It's, you know, it's theatre. It's just TV that's closer to theatre than it ever was before, rather than now it's like TV's trying to be movies all the time. But I think the sound design is really, really good. There's some nice, consistent, busy sound effects, all the little bleep bloops and the computer noises and the communicator noises and stuff, and the doors, the guns going off. I think there's probably a bit more sound design on this than a few other stories around the time, I wonder. You know, like maybe a few years later in the Williams era, they would have had like gallery only days where they'd have like tried to stick lasers over everything just to make it look less cheap after hyperinflation. But yeah, I do think some time and care was taken over sound, which is quite good. I noticed that. So yeah, I think it's it's slightly ropey in places visually, but it's all right.
Yeah, fair enough. Joshua, any thoughts on the? We've already kind of had yours, haven't we, on the VFX production design? So yeah, DK, I'll come to you rather on that one. Then. Sorry, I'm all over the place at the minute.
The model for Nerva, all right, but I'm guessing it was used for the arc first, so I can't really credit it for this one. I couldn't help but laugh where at the first time it's just a stock photo of the Nerva on the control screen, and they're just saying it's coming towards us, and it's basically just the camera zooming in because the stars are moving along with the station. It's and obviously the little toilet roll special effect for Nerva when it's just about to crash. That's one of the things that I always remember from when I was watching, even as a kid. I was just like, what?
I really like it. I don't know why. I know it looks crap, but I like it anyway.
Like Cliff said, it's making the best of what you have, and I can't fault them for that. I can't fault them for other things like the obviously ill-fitting Cyberman costume on the one that's walking up the stairs on Voga and his head is wobbling. I believe they use that costume again as well for the Dusty Death scene with the Cybermat because that looks pitiful.
I didn't really write it down, but I was aware of something to do with the music and the sound. DK, are you familiar with what went on here? Because I do recall it was something like Kerry Blyton did the incidental music, but then he was replaced, and Philip Hinchcliffe had the radiophonic workshop, and Peter Howell do kind of more electronic type stuff. Is that accurate?
I didn't come across anything like that.
That is a thing. So basically, there was something about some directors just didn't like using Dudley Simpson, or just felt that there'd been too much Dudley Simpson. So some directors made an effort to just go elsewhere. I don't know whether they had arguments with him or not, but yeah, Kerry Blyton did Death to the Daleks, and that's kind of a mix of like really good stuff with the Exelons, and then just like the Daleks turn up and it's like Hattie Jakes bimbling around the hospital in a Carry On film. So basically Kerry Blyton did a little bit more of the same. He was more about using orchestral instruments than synthesizers, but they were just like, it's not threatening enough. So we got some synthesizers in. I actually quite like it now. I don't think I liked it very much when I was a teenager, but I quite like it now. I prefer it to the more outlandish, like Sea Devils and Claws of Axos stuff, which is quite sort of farty moogs.
yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Did you guys have any thoughts, DK or Joshua, on the music, or just kind of?
I always like the old metallic marching music when the Cyberman's on, no matter which iteration it is. So
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I dig that, and I also like I don't know if it was supposed to be incidental music or it was supposed to be the effect of them themselves. I like the little heartbeat kind of riff where they're walking with the bombs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
The thing with the music for me, I've always enjoyed, and I hate to say it this way, but I've always enjoyed retro style music in film and television. So yeah, I did quite enjoy the music and the sound in this. I think it was very well done for the time.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Well, if that's all for our little bits and pieces of notes, because time is sadly getting away from us, I'm going to move us along now to give critic and audience thoughts on this, and open the subwave network. There we go.
I'm transferring the subwave network.
I don't always do this, but I was intrigued by the critical feedback because of people like Cliff who may have been influenced, or and because it's interesting to see what some people thought of this, and it's a bit varied. And again, I did put out on the social media a request for your thoughts of viewers and listeners, so I will also share that because there's actually quite a bit of that from you as well, and again, quite varied. So I'm going to start with the critics' feedback then, and again, going to what Cliff said earlier. Paul Cornell, Martin Day, and Keith Topping gave the serial a negative review in the Discontinuity Guide in 1995, describing it as a contradictory, tedious, and unimaginative mess, and the title's rubbish too. Say what you mean. In the Television Companion in 1998, David Howe and Stephen James Walker said the story was neither good nor bad, but was a disappointing way to end this season. They praised the new look of the Cybermen, the direction, and some of the supporting characters, but said a story with a weak script and a poor plot is always going to have a struggle to impress the viewer, and Revenge of the Cybermen is no exception. In 2010, Patrick Mulkern of Radio Times gave Revenge 1 star out of 5, calling the Gold Revelation a ridiculous development, and said that the Cybermen returned with an overall lapse of scripting, performance, design, and direction, though the location work for Voga allowed the story to occasionally gleam with life. Seems like a lot of what we're saying on that one. SFX reviewer Ian Berriman called the story a blandly competent meat and potatoes action adventure fare. On the other hand, Berriman was positive towards the camp appeal of the cyber leader, the Doctor being strapped to a bomb, and the reliably brilliant main cast. DVD Talks John Sinnott felt that not all of the story's criticism was warranted, and gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Sinnott wrote that the Vogans were interesting and the Cybermen were menacing, if not at their best. He still noted plot holes and criticized the Cybermats and Harry's bumbling buffoon character. One for you there, Joshua. In a 2010 article for Den of Geek, while choosing Philip Hinchcliffe as the greatest producer of Doctor Who, Alex Westhorpe cited Revenge of the Cybermen as the least successful story of his tenure. I think is kind of fair. So, over to your thoughts now then on this. So we're going to start with... let's see, from Discord, actually. Ethan gives it 3 out of 5 and says the Cybermen are very out of character. The positives are the location filming and music both being really good. That's from the Who Game Show's Discord server there. Over on Blue Sky, Space Hippie Face, great name, always comments, says, I give it about 1.5. It's a huge disappointment, especially after Genesis of the Daleks. So, yeah. From the ironically named yet again Doctor Who Gold group on Facebook, Paul Morton says, I loved it myself. Okie dokie. That's no accounting for taste. From the group Cybermen Supremacy, Tom Jordan says, not as good as the 60s cyber stories, but still a good watch and a fun time. Had the best cyber leader in Christopher Robbie. That's borderline hot take material, I think.
I'm going to say that needs a hot take, please.
Miles better than the awful Silver Nemesis it was forced to share a box set with. I'm tempted to give that a hot take graphic as well.
Holy crap.
Anyway, James Hunt says, I give it... There we go. Sorry, Tom, we disagree with you slightly on that one. Anyway, James Hunt says, I give it 3 stars. Not exactly a good story, but still fun to watch. Let's see. From Doctor Who, the Tom Baker, yes. Liam Whitelaw says, I love it. I always have. Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. Classic line. Yeah. Brian Daly says, from the best golden age of Doctor Who ever. Definitely 5 stars, a classic. Okay. Mark Andrew Sperry just says 5 stars. Jamie Cleary Royal says 3 out of 5, weak link of season 12, but dang, I enjoy it. One of the best TARDIS teams, plus the Cybermen, thoroughly enjoyable despite the flaws. Christopher Haynes says, I like the story, but I blame it for introducing emotional Cybermen, a terrible idea that Saywood evidently loved. Yeah, let's not go there. And let's see, where were we? Again, back to Cybermen Supremacy Group on Facebook. This is quite a long one. Jeffrey King says, when I first watched this one as a kid, around age 7 or so, it really didn't hold my attention well. The most memorable scenes were that the beacon looked like the Ark, yet somehow different. Sarah being attacked by the Cybermat, and later the Cybermen telling her she'd have a much closer view of Nerva crashing into Voga. It wasn't until I read the synopsis for Earthshock that I realized the Cybermen were recurring monsters. Revenge was suddenly much more interesting to me at that point, and Earthshock is in a lot of ways an 80s rewrite of Revenge. Okay. As a standalone adventure, it didn't do much for me, but as a part of the bigger Cybermen mythology and backstory, it works well. Much better in retrospect. I'll give it 4 stars because they could have done more with it in regards to making the Cybermen scarier or more of a threat. Okay. Steve Tom says 5 stars all the way. Blew my mind as a 4-year-old watching on original transmission. Graz Richard says 5 stars, brilliant. So many people giving this 5 stars, man. They walk among us. Anyway. Wesley Harper says Kelman said it's really good. Yeah, well, we know not to trust him. Jeffrey King says, for most of us in the States, this was our only Cyberman story until Earthshock came along. And to watch Revenge on its own, you wouldn't know that the Cybermen were once humanoid. I'm sure a lot of viewers here in the States, myself included, got the impression the Cybermen were just a random race of robots. Yeah, that's my point, yeah. Gareth Joseph says, I love Revenge. I don't care about what is perhaps the most gaping plot hole in the show's history. I find it atmospheric, helped by the music, which I really like. The Cybermen have some character, which makes them far more cybernetic than robot, which is how I think they should be. 3 great cliffhangers and some great location shooting too. It's always fun watching it. And yeah, that's it from our audience, who, I'll be honest, baffled the heck out of me. But there we go. Seems we may be in the minority not liking this story. There's a few people that agree with us. Well, the majority of us here, and a few people that, like I said, 5 stars. Some very unassuming viewers out there, perhaps. But yeah. Anyway, we'll say no more. If you like it, fair play to you. Like I said, you just enjoy your happiness. So all that's left is for us to go around and give our favorite things first of all, and then hit our conclusion and scores. So we always, on my episodes, at least do our favorite character, moment, and line. I am going to start with you, Joshua. What's your favorite character, first of all, in this, and then moment and line, if you'd like to dive in with that as
well. My favorite character in this is actually the Doctor. Gotta love Tom Baker always. And favorite line is, Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. That's just because I just despise Harry so much, and the way Tom Baker delivered that line was great. So
nice. Do you have a favorite scene or a moment in the story?
Oh, that's really hard.
You can give a least favorite if you'd rather.
No, it's not so much of a scene. It's just back to the location. I love the on location shooting in the cave. That's probably all I'm gonna say on that topic, because I don't really have a favorite scene. Most of it is just there would be more unfavorite scenes than favorite scenes. So
I'll allow location shooting as a favorite sort of overall series of moments and scenes. That's fine. Cool. So Cliff, are you happy for me to come to you next for favorite character, moment, and line?
Well, I don't know if we should give away spoilers, but we're recording this on Sunday, the 8th of March, which is International Women's Day. So I should probably respectfully say Sarah Jane as the story's woman.
Okay, the one and only woman.
The one and only woman. It's interesting when you were mentioning how there was a character called Anitra in the Return of the Cybermen. It's like, there's no other women in it apart from Sarah. That's a recurring problem with Hinchcliffe stories and HoMs.
Yeah,
they just assumed girls didn't really watch, I think. But maybe and it's like, we like to kill our people, so but killing women is bad, so maybe we just won't have any women in. It's probably what they meant. They probably meant it well.
There's no place for women. They were at home knitting and cooking like they should be.
Yes. So yeah, I do actually enjoy Harry. Sorry. Apologies to those who don't. And I mean, for the guest characters, Vorus is fun. Kelman is quite cool. I like how slimy and evil Kelman is as well. Not that I identify with him, but I know it's becoming a recurring thing. It's like, oh, I really liked the terrible villain. I'm not like them. I don't approve of what they did, but they were entertaining.
You can still like the character, or find the character compelling at least.
Yeah, just before the listeners go, he always likes the evil ones. He must be evil. I am. No, and the lines, I mean, I do like the "yet the thing like that is still alive" line with the venom. That's quite good. But also Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. Is a lot of fun. And favorite scene, I think I was particularly struck. I think the cliffhangers, especially the part 2 cliffhangers, like the Darth Vader striding onto the spaceship and then everyone's dead. The beacon is ours. It's pretty cool.
Awesome, cool. Just as a very quick aside, by the way, since you mentioned the date of recording, I should also add for anyone that's unaware that it's also somebody here's birthday today, isn't it? Joshua.
Yes, it is.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Felicitated.
Yeah. Happy birthday. I probably should have said that earlier on in the recording, but I hope you are having a good day, and thanks again for joining us on your birthday.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, once I'm done with this, I'm going out to dinner, so.
I was going to say, hopefully this isn't the highlight of your day, because that would be a little depressing.
Jesus, you made this poor guy talk about Revenge of the Cybermen.
No, actually, we did a lot of the celebrating last night, so.
Oh, okay,
and then tonight, here in a little while, I'm going out to dinner with family, so.
Nice. Well, enjoy, and hope you have a great day. And,
Thank you.
So it's over to you then, DK, for your favourites.
The favourite scene, it's got to be the Cybermen in the cavern, because I did like that. It seemed very kind of upmarket for Doctor Who. So that's favourite character. Oh God, it's his birthday, so I can't say Harry Sullivan. It's gonna have to be. I'm gonna go with the Doctor. I do like the. I do like the way that when the Doctor's arm got trapped in the door, he thanked Sarah Jane and they gave Harry the stink eye.
Oh yeah, that was terrible though. And I was like, "What the heck have I done now?" I felt for the poor guy there.
Yeah, and then coupled with that, Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. It was. It just wasn't his day, really.
It wasn't, no.
Strangely enough, though, and I think it's the way he delivered it. And you never normally see anything like that in these science fiction things. My favourite line is "fetlocked like a cart horse" when he can't get Sarah Jane out of the manacles. It just felt so natural.
I'm pretty sure Cliff texted me that line earlier as well.
I did. It was just one of my little random thoughts. It's like, how did you two get together then as a couple? It's like, well, I just shouted out the car window, "You've got calves, or rather fetlocks like a cart horse," and it went from there.
See, you guys clearly have the same taste in silly lines, but that's awesome. Brilliant. My stuff then. My favorite character in this is the Doctor. I think Tom's cheekiness and subversive push against anything serious means that he's the only actor that at least matches the tone of this. My favorite moment is the near miss at the end. I thought it was a neat bit of actual compelling, intense action, and one of the few times in the story I actually felt something. And my favorite line is the famous line from the story, very cliche: "You've no home planet, no influence, nothing. You're just a pathetic bunch of tin soldiers skulking about the galaxy in an ancient spaceship." Because as much as it's kind of verbally wrong about the Cybermen, it is at least the Doctor giving one of his good old-fashioned put-downs verbally to the bad guy, and you've got to appreciate that. So, yeah, that's my stuff. So we're at the rounding up of our thoughts with our conclusion and our scores out of 5 stars. Let's see. Shall we say, Joshua, would you like to go first with your conclusion and score?
So I've been on several of these with you guys, and I am probably about to give the lowest score I've ever given. And I'm usually fairly generous with my scoring a lot of the times. With this episode, I am sadly going to have to give it a 2.5, and it is only getting that because of the direction and the music.
Fair enough. That's not terribly low. I'll be honest. I went lower, but there we go. So 2.5 is still middle, so it's still neither hit nor miss. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah.
Cool. For a more positive spin, then Cliff, over to you for your conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm not going to give it 4 or 5. It's a 3 out of 5. I'm aware of its flaws, but I think it's very well directed, very well cast. I think the golden trio of Tom, Liz, and Ian Marter are just terrific, and add a great deal of charm and watchability to a script that's flawed, with Cybermen that are flawed, but I still have a very good time and a very nostalgic feel for it.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, noted. 3 stars then out of 5. DK, over to you.
I'm going to get some flack for this.
Don't worry, I haven't gone yet. I'm going to get attacked any second.
it's not. No, I'm probably going to get attacked for a different way. It's not very good. Okay. Like Josh mentioned earlier, I mean, I profess to like this because it reminds me of my childhood, but even this time, I was just watching one episode a night. I was just getting distracted very, very easily. So it doesn't hold your attention for the most part. The Cybermen are, dramatic to say the least, and it's got so much padding. It's like a cushion, but it reminds me of my childhood, and it's entirely subjective on me. So because of that, because of the way it makes me feel still when I watch some of it, and it reminds me of happier times, I'm going to give it 3.5.
I'm ashamed of you.
I'm ashamed of myself. I will flog myself after this recording.
Well, what can you do? I'm getting the feeling my review is not going to be popular, but what the heck? I'm going to go for it because I can. So, where are we? Every time I watch this story, I want to like it. I really do. But after about half dozen attempts, I just can't see past the glaring issues that keep pulling me out of it. The plot feels like an illogical, cobbled together mess of competing ideas. Nothing is given time to breathe or develop any real gravitas. There's too much going on, and instead of building tension, it leaves me bored and confused. The Cybermen are supposedly on the brink of extinction after the Cyber Wars, yet this species famous for conversion wipes out an entire space station with a virus. It fundamentally misunderstands them, treating them like well-spoken robots and forgetting their disturbing part organic nature in a way that's as egregious as Destiny of the Daleks handling its titular monsters. Then there's the Gold Planet in the middle of a civil conflict, terrified of these near-extinct enemies who want to destroy them because they're allergic to their primary export and resentful that this planet invented their Achilles heel, the, I shit you not, glitter gun. Yes, it really was the 70s. Add in a double agent and a bombs versus missiles interstellar standoff, and even explaining it induces a headache. The direction feels sometimes like an episode of Rent-A-Ghost. The production values often resemble Tiz was, and some of the performances veer into the unintentionally laughable. There is genuine tension towards the end, but for me, it's too little, too late. I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. If you love this, I'm genuinely happy for you. I'm judging you, but I'm happy for you. And look, it's not Cyberwoman. There is at least the pleasure of spending time with arguably the best TARDIS team in the show's best era. The cyber designs are decent, there's a sense of fun, and it's more enjoyable than unwatchable, even if that enjoyment sometimes comes from laughing at it. It doesn't help that it closes out a brilliant season, my personal favourite, and follows the legendary genesis of the Daleks. That's like finishing a gourmet meal with a packet of Space Raiders. Even watching it in isolation for this podcast, I can only be so charitable. I'm ready to call it. This one just isn't for me. Your mileage may vary, and that's fine, but I can't help lamenting the squandered potential. A rare appearance for the time of a favourite group of adversaries who deserve far better. It's far from excellent and leaves me wanting to scream that somebody's an imbecile. At least we have the superior audio remake from Big Finish. And I actually gave it 1.5 out of 5.
Ooh.
I really didn't like this one. I apologize.
I don't feel so bad now for my 2.5.
Oh no, I had a feeling I was going to be the lowest. So with sincerest of apologies to at least a couple of us here, putting those scores together and dividing by the 4 of us gives you a final score for Revenge of the Cybermen of 2.6 out of 5, which is not a great score, I will say. So apologies if you are a fan, and I just couldn't with this. I'm sorry. Are we all still speaking to me after that one?
Yes, I'm right there with you. Like I said, it was painful. It was painful on the rewatch, and it made me remember why I didn't rewatch it after the first time.
Yeah. Anyway, well, Cliff is conspicuous by his silence, but I'm going to leave that there.
He's just
It's
fuming.
fine. As I say, when I was a teenager, I had a very low opinion of it, and I've just become fond of it in my old age. I recognise it's a story that is not objectively one you can argue is great. I completely understand why people don't like it, because I didn't used to like it that much either. It's just nostalgia and fondness. Fondness, it is a word like any other.
Nice. And to be fair, you did give it a lower score than DK somehow.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, thank you again to all of our listeners if you've stuck with us through this long episode. Hopefully you aren't too mad at me if you're a fan of Revenge of the Cybermen. Again, if you like it, genuinely fair play to you. It's we all like some things that are not popular, and I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. If you enjoy it, stick it on and enjoy. And for those of us that don't, we at least have the big finish, like I said. So if you have enjoyed this, do stick around. We are still carrying on with our Cyberman series for the next several weeks. And again, you can always follow us on social media by using the link tree in the episode description. Please go find us, share, like, subscribe. We're not doing great for views or people commenting and interacting with us, so we could always do with that from any Doctor Who fans. So, fellow Whovians, if you're liking what you hear here, please again spread the word. Help us to get this built up a little bit amongst the community, perhaps. And of course, I have to thank all three of my other compatriots in arms, shall we say, for this episode. So so first of all, genuine thank you, and thanks for allowing me to savage one of your not favorite episodes, but better thought of episodes, Cliff, this time.
It's okay. I mean, maybe part of this psychologically is because, this is coming off the back of Cyberwoman. Maybe I'm just like, I have to find something good. I have to find something good after Cyberwoman. So, maybe there's context.
Yeah, that's fair enough. No, I mean, I didn't like Cyberwoman either. I did give that a lower score, at least, thankfully. I don't think I could have brought myself to do that otherwise. Although I did, once I'd given this 1.5, I was like, I give Cyberwoman 1. I was too generous. It is way more than half a point worse than this, come to think of it. But anyway, make of that what you will. So, Cliff, did you have anywhere people can find you online? Anything you wanted to plug?
I've got some auditions in for some games. Fingers crossed something will happen there. I'm doing a workshop on the Isle of Man as well. It's all very Isle of Man based at the moment. So, hopefully there'll be more worldwide stuff soon. Otherwise, I did the Torchwood Cyberwoman podcast with the Hit or Miss team. They're lovely guys. Splendid chaps, all of them.
Excellent. Yes, that was last week's episode, which you can still find on our feed, of course, but they're always going to be there. Go back and listen to as many as you want, or as few as you prefer, of the previous Dalek and Cybermen reviews that we've done. And it's genuinely always a pleasure talking with you, Cliff, and having you on. So hopefully you'll be back soon. I think I've probably got you down for at least another one at some point.
I hope so. I'm well up for it. Thank you.
No problem. And thanks again, Josh, for joining us on here for a second time. And slightly less impressive episode than your first one, but hopefully it hasn't put you off coming back.
Nope. I think I'm coming back next week, as a matter of fact.
For Earthshock?
Yeah, I am coming back for Earthshock next week. But yeah, no, it's always a pleasure. And just find me on Instagram and Facebook. And we're working on several different projects right now that are going to be coming out hopefully very soon. Got a couple things that are going to be going to some film festivals later this year, and I will keep everybody updated on that. So
awesome. And thanks for being again my steady cybernetic right hand, DK. And
you're quite welcome.
And I do believe you're sticking with us for the next couple of episodes, the next couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, I've just found out about Earthshock, so I'll be watching that.
Okay. I mean, it's been written down for a while. Or do you just found out it exists?
It is me.
Thought you meant you just found out it exists. You were like, oh shit! I wonder what happened.
It was just like, I'm on Earthshock next week, and I was just like, oh, I guess I am next.
Fair enough. Do you have anything you wanted to plug, or just again direct people to Silver Screen?
Yeah, get over to Silver Screen, please, because we need the views.
Yeah, Silver Screen Cult Classics is DK's baby, Cinema Classics is mine, and we both contribute to the Silver Screen regular flavour. They're all not doing great, but we love the work, and it's it's good stuff. I think if you're a film fan, go check it out. Our sister podcast, Silver Screen, on YouTube, or the Media Matters Podcast Network for all of our podcasts, including all Star Trek, Doctor Who, and film reviews, which will always be there. So As I said, next time, grab your black armbands and your ceremonial gold star badge for mathematical excellence, because it's the Fifth Doctor's turn to face off against the Cybermen, and not everyone is going to make it out alive this time. I have to go now because I've just had a space-time telegraph message from the Brigadier. Good night.
You've been listening to the Hit or Miss Doctor Who podcast, part of the Hit or Miss Who Trek channel. Hit or Miss Doctor Who is hosted by Mike Wilson and DK. Behind the scenes and additional material by DK, scripted, produced, and edited by Mike Wilson. Adapted from an original podcast created by Will Templar. Follow us on YouTube, your podcatcher of choice, and our social media. Links to all of these can be found by clicking on the link tree in the episode descriptions. This podcast is a Media Matters original production. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast through all of time and space. We'll be back for another thrilling TARDIS trip soon, but for now, Doctor, I let you go.